eating breakfast in bed. I like waking up to the smell of bacon. Sue me. And since I don't have a butler, I have to do it myself.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is the Osnator, and welcome to another episode of Good Ol Wrasslin, episode 25. Yeah, I know this show's been out a while, and yes, it's only episode 25. Do not ask. Tonight, nothing major going on tonight. It's just going to be Elimination Chamber predictions, and maybe we'll talk about a couple other things here and there, but nothing too crazy. But I, of course, got Shifty over here. What's up, Shifty?
What's up?
And, just to stall for time here. How are you doing, Shifty? Anything new?
Nothing much. I just been checking out the latest release of the Tomb Raider remaster that dropped last week. It's pretty neat. The controls are a little bit screwy, but once you get those down, it's a pretty fun nostalgic trip to the past.
Oh,
and
sure.
Hopefully they remaster the other games in the series pretty soon. It's selling pretty well from what I hear.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I heard that the same team that's remastering those are remastering the two Battlefront games, I think.
Oh, yeah. Coming out next month on all platforms. I can't wait to play it on the Switch. Having those games in the palm of my hand, portable, that's going to be pretty cool, especially if the online is good on the Switch.
I really hope so, because the fact that they're bringing these old games back and then basically bringing them and keeping the online, I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, the more people they hold those old games in higher regards than the ones that EA put out. So they got a lot riding on this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they're gonna sell well because of like how revered these two Battlefront games are. And after the games that EA released, I think a lot of people were more salivating for a remaster of these two games with the multiplayer than playing any of the other EA games. I mean, the second EA game's not bad, but
yeah,
I mean,
they improved it over time. It's just the fact that it got so good towards the end. They had put much effort into it. They kind of gave up on it right as you're getting all the Mandalorian stuff and all the Andor stuff and all that stuff. They could have been making more money by just keeping it up and alive and putting all the Disney Plus content into it, but they had to shut it down and move on to something else.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah, so the wrestling stuff lately hasn't been very
well, it was exciting there for a bit, and then I don't know. I think the whole stuff with The Rock, it was all screwy, and it was kind of edge of your seat entertainment there because you didn't know what was going on. But then I think they may have kind of corrected course a little bit too soon because I don't know. I kind of lost some of that excitement after Rock went back to his Hollywood persona last week on SmackDown. I don't know. We're still right in the middle of the build to WrestleMania, so things may rebound here. But I mean, we're going to talk about the show here today for Elimination Chamber, and like we said before we went on air, it's just a predictable card, and I don't even know if it's worth getting up at 5 a.m. My time. I'm sure it's 5 a.m. your time too.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be 5 a.m. I'm not staying up to watch it. I'm not getting up early. It's not that big of a show.
Yeah, I mean, if there was at least one decent match on the, I mean, there'll probably be decent matches, but you know what the outcomes are going to be.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that's really just to get from point A to point B. Like, which is fine, but it's just I think the best thing about Elimination Chamber will more than likely be the Australia crowd more than anything.
Last year we didn't probably think that much about Backlash going into it, but it ended up being like one of the, if not the best show of the year last year.
Oh yeah, I mean the crowd really carried that show. But this show, just on paper and just the idea, it just feels very. And I think me and Robert Storms, when on our show, on his channel, we've talked about this quite a bit about predictability. This show is really predictable. Like even on the card itself, you can tell who's going to win by like a mile away.
Yeah.
So it's like, am I really going to stay up till or am I getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch a card that I know is what's going to happen beforehand? Probably not.
Yeah, I think that Australia kind of deserved a little bit better. I don't know.
Because I'm sorry, this does not feel like a stadium show card. Like this feels like a show that you would get here in the States.
But Rock kind of hinted he might be there, even though he the other night they interviewed him, or it was some clip on Twitter they released where he was talking about the Grayson Waller effect segment where Cody and Seth's going to be there, and he said if they run their mouth about him and Roman, he said he wasn't going to be there, but if they ran their mouth about him, he would get on a jet so fast and show up and smack them upside the face. So you never know. That might have been a hint that he may show up, but I mean, just appearance from The Rock, that doesn't make the whole show. I mean,
no.
Like, again, that does not equal getting up early. Like, I know I've seen some people go, "Oh, we're getting up early to watch Elimination Chamber," and I almost want to comment like, "Good for you." Like, that's not really a flex there. Like, just because you're saying, "Oh, I'm getting up at 5 a.m," okay, like, that's cool, but realistically, there's other people that don't get up at 5 a.m. They're going to look at the show and be like, "Why? What?" Like this, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think ideally the tag match, I think, is going to be really good. Like, the matches themselves might be fun, they might be good, but the problem is there's just nothing there that's like really making me go, "Oh, I'm staying up till 5 a.m." Like, I think that's my biggest complaint.
I mean, I'm not even that big of a fan of the Elimination Chamber matches themselves. So I mean, if it was a Royal Rumble at 5 a.m., I'd get up.
Yeah. But it's just, it feels like, and before we really talk about Elimination Chamber, like, I know that the tag match more than likely will happen at WrestleMania with The Rock and Roman versus Cody, Seth, night one. But do you think that maybe this show could have used like a tag match like that to like maybe get some excitement there? Because it just...
Yeah, it needed something. It definitely needed something. I mean, Bronson Reed's not even on the show, and you would think that, I mean, they would have done something for him because he's an Australian guy. And
yeah, that also felt weird because like they had him in an Elimination Chamber qualifier, and I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna have him go over to maybe pop the Australian crowd, but no, they didn't even do that. They just had Bobby Lashley win, which again is fine. I mean, I get that they probably want some big names for the show, but it just feels very... I don't know. It just feels like very weak.
Yeah.
I mean, when we do review the show, we'll probably just say, "Oh yeah, the show is okay," but nothing that screams, "Oh my god!" Like it's just the great. Do I think it's gonna be the greatest show of the year? Probably not. I think it's probably gonna be the crowd is gonna be fun because a lot of the international crowds are. I just I don't know. I'm not feeling it because I'm pretty sure we're basically gonna have the same predictions when we do the
Yeah, this might end up being a tie.
This will probably be a tie because ideally this just this is just I wouldn't say it's not a bad card, mind you, but it's just a very
Yeah.
But I know, like, I apologize to everybody who's like, oh, well, guys, 10 minutes in, this is like a really, I'm like, guys, this show is just so predictable. There's really nothing to talk about with this pay-per-view, because a lot of it is just, oh, this guy's gonna win. Oh, this, it's just a complete clusterfuck. So let's just get this out of the way. Let's get the Elimination Chamber predictions out of the way, so that way.
This also brings the question up, and people have said this since the beginning, since they started cramming Elimination Chamber in between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. It's not really needed. It's unnecessary. I mean, they got to have their 12 pay-per-views a year,
right?
But it's filler. It's filler.
Yeah, it's niche. Like, I think what I liked about the Elimination Chamber when it first started was, like, it wasn't like a once a year thing. Like, it was a when the story needed it. Like, six guys going for the title. Like, for example, the first one, Triple H, who was the world champion. You had 5 guys who fucking hated him. Like that. Yeah, that makes sense. There was one where you had, the world title vacated and you want the 6 top guys to face off for it. Okay, that makes sense. But once you start to make it every year with the incentive of, oh, you didn't win the Royal Rumble? Well, you get an Elimination Chamber match. It's like, it's just weak. And it just makes the Elimination Chamber feel lazy. It just feels very convenient.
Yeah, it's like Hell in a Cell when they started using it every year. It's just, I don't know.
Which thankfully they're steering away from it, and they're actually going to start using the Hell in a Cell in a more sparingly type of role, which is where it should be used. But that's just neither here nor there.
They need to come up with some new gimmick matches. I know some people don't like gimmick matches, but you got to have some once in a while. And I just think it's time somebody stepped up and they created a new type of gimmick match.
Yeah. No, I agree. Hey, maybe they could bring back that triple cage that Hogan and Savage used for the Doomsday to End Hulkamania cage.
Oh, I thought you was talking about the one that happened in like 2000 that was in the Red Rumble movie. I think it was in the Red Rumble movie.
You know what? We need to bring that back too.
Yeah, the triple stack cage or whatever it was.
Jesus God, that.
Oh, what about the thing? Dustin Rhodes and Bunkhouse Buck. They were in the back of the tractor trailer.
Oh yeah, that match. You know what? They should bring that back. Once a year, just to have like. All right, you didn't win the Royal Rumble. Where you could all face off in the back of a truck. The winner is whoever decides to leave last.
Whoever gets tossed off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. They need to like sort of branch out a little bit more. I mean, I get why they don't, because it's a little difficult with probably a lot of because I'm pretty sure the PG rating, and I know that they probably have to work around it. And the last few times they've tried to do like a gimmicky match, it's been very cartoonish and very silly.
Oh, the lights out Mountain Dew match or whatever it was?
Yeah, the pitch black match.
Yeah, that was great. But you bring up the PG rating, man. That's another thing that was kind of a letdown from a couple weeks ago when we had the press conference where everything blew up. It seemed like they were really flirting with a more mature type of broadcast and something that was more reality based and going forward. But I guess that was just for that one moment, that one night at the press conference, because they immediately just went back to the same old when they went back to SmackDown. But I was like, oh wow, it feels like they may be going a new direction, but nope.
Yeah, it just, I mean, maybe they did that at the press conference to maybe show Netflix, like, oh, like, hey, look at us. We can be very edgy. We could be like, we could be TV 14. But maybe I get it because like Fox and like USA, they probably have like their contracts with them probably have.
I think it has more to do with Mattel than anything because
probably, yeah.
USA. If you ever watch Mr. Robot or anything that they produce, there's some pretty hardcore stuff on those shows. So
yeah,
and they let the F words fly now at 10 o'clock. So I mean,
well, that's when all the kids are asleep. So I mean,
I think it has more to do with Mattel than anything.
Yeah. It probably does. I wouldn't be surprised. All right. So let's do the predictions so that way we get these out of the way and we can just.
Well, why don't I just read those questions like when you're talking about said match?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we can just do them in order because realistically, the predictions are literally just the questions.
Okay.
So.
Okay. First up, will Bronson Reed appear? Do you think?
I think he will appear in some capacity. Yes.
Okay. All righty. Will The Rock or Roman Reigns appear live during the Cody and Seth Grayson Waller segment?
I would think one of them would have to if you're building up a tag match. So I would say yes.
Okay. Will it be live in person or live via satellite?
Probably live.
Okay. All right. So up next is the women's. Well, actually, last night they announced. I think they announced the women's tag title match. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. Apparently, on the pre-show, it's going to be Asuka and Kairi Sane versus.
Wait, there's a pre-show.
Yes.
What time's the pre-show?
That's a great question. I would think maybe an hour before, so I'd say maybe 4 a.m.
Jesus Christ. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's rough.
But if you watch the show later on, how can you watch the pre-show?
Maybe they'll have the pre-show separate like they've been doing because I know like sometimes they'll have the kickoff and then the show.
Okay. All right. That's weird. Who are they facing?
Yeah, so Asuka and Kairi Sane are facing Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell.
Oh, well, yeah. I think we know who's going to win that.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying Asuka and Kairi Sane win.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't put that on the list, so that won't be counted. So first match, let's go with the women's world title match: Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah. Realistically, I think Rhea's gonna win because there's no way they're gonna have her drop the belt this close to Mania, and especially in her like home in Australia. There's no way they're gonna have her drop the title. So
yeah. She kind of has to because I mean the storyline so far is Nia's been whooping her butt every time they came face to face. So Rhea's finally going to get the one up on her. So we both say Rhea, and there'll be no title change. I'll put that down in the records here in a little bit. The undisputed tag team title match: Judgment Day versus curly mustache guy and the guy that carries his belts in his mouth.
Oh yeah, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, who are now called the New Catch Republic, whatever that means.
Okay. I think this is another one we can probably just go ahead and say that there will be no title change and Judgment Day will walk out.
Yeah, Judgment Day are going to win because, again, they're not going to have Judgment Day lose the belts this close in the Mania. And especially if they're going to do the whole Awesome Truth versus Judgment Day thing at WrestleMania.
Is that what they're building to?
That's apparently what they're building towards, but I don't know even if I really want that, to be honest. But Judgment Day win.
Yeah, I'm the guy that only keeps up with it through Twitter clips, so I haven't seen any clips of that. So I didn't know that they were building towards Awesome. With Awesome Truth?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. R-Truth's been trying to get into the Judgment Day. All right. I see where they're going. Okay. Yeah, they'll probably lose the belts to him at WrestleMania because I'm sure they're gearing up for the big what's his face cashing in his Money in the Bank.
Yeah, Dame Priest is cashing in whether he loses his cash in or he doesn't wins, but
Yeah, he's got to July, I think July 5th.
yeah, he's got to like July. So either they're gonna have him cash in at Mania or they're gonna have him wait until sometime afterwards. But man, they really have not done a good job building him, as a credible guy to win his cash in.
I mean, we can assume that he's going to probably cash in on the winner, whoever wins between Seth and Drew. I don't know. I would assume it would probably be Seth, probably because Seth needs a break, and I don't know. That's we'll have to talk about that next month. I don't know.
Yeah, because we all know that Drew's gonna face Seth for the world title. I mean, I know, spoiler alert for the men's chamber, but I think McIntyre wins the.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about that. Who all's in that match?
For elimination for the men's chamber.
Yeah.
So it's McIntyre, Orton, Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, and Logan Paul.
Yeah, Drew's odd on favor because I mean he's heavily involved with everything that's been going on between Punk and Cody. And plus that his contract was up, and there was rumors of him leaving, and he's definitely going to get his Mania spot this year. They probably don't want to let him go, and he's actually been improving. His character's been improving because he's
at
least releasing these Twitter vids where he's like making fun of Punk and Cody and everybody, and his persona's finally coming around with this heel turn of his. So good for him. Who do you think will be the final two in that match?
I think the final two will probably be. I think it's going to be Orton and McIntyre. I think.
Yeah, I consider that, but I think they're going to mess with the fans again and try to tease LA Knight winning. I think maybe it'll be LA Knight and Drew in the finals there. Who do you think will be the first two in the match? I think the first two. The first two is fighting each other. But
realistically, because I know that they're doing the whole thing with Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. So unless they're going to build towards a rematch, because realistically, originally I know that people were like, "Oh, LA Knight's going to face Logan Paul," but it looks like LA Knight's facing AJ Styles, and then they're going to have Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, unless they're going to do like a big ladder match for it. I think it's probably going to be Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. I think
that's what I had down here for Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. Them two kind of got into it last night in the press conference. They had to get broken up. Who do you think the last person will be in the match?
The number 6 guy.
Yeah.
Because if they're gonna start, then LA Knight, Bobby Lashley. I think Randy's probably gonna be the last guy because I don't think they would probably want to have him work an entire chamber match.
Yep.
Especially this he's only been back a couple months. I realistically can't see them working in a whole chamber match.
Yeah, even though he said he feels better than he has in 10 years, that after Royal Rumble, he was visibly hurting in that match.
Yeah.
And you said we was going to have the same answers. Yeah, I picked Orton too. Who gets put through a pod?
You know what? I could see this being a Bobby Lashley maybe misses a spear through a pod and he goes through it.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a swerve there. I went with the Logan Paul. I mean, I think a lot of people would like to see that, but yeah, I think Logan could dodge and Lashley will hit the spear and go through it himself. Yeah, that's pretty likely there. Okay. So let's see, where were we? What else do we have on the card here?
I think the only other thing is the women's chamber match. I think.
Yeah, it's another 4-card pay-per-view. Who do you think is going to win? I think we can.
Again, I think we can all predict this. Becky Lynch is probably going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Who are the final two?
You know, I kind of like what you said about your logic of LA Knight being part of the final two. I think Liv and Becky are going to be the final two because
really?
I think because Liv Morgan's like, you know, very, very popular. I think they're going to want to tease the fans. And plus, it would make sense, especially with the way that they've been kind of building it off TV, where Liv's like, oh, I was the last person that pinned Ripley, so I should, you know, I feel like they're going to have her probably be part of the final two.
Well, you put much more thought into this than I did. I said Becky and Bianca just because they're like the two top gals in the match. So, yeah. But, yeah, I can see that also happening. Who are the first two do you think will be in the match?
First two, I think it's probably going to be who are the six? So it's Becky, Bianca, Liv, Tiffany, Naomi, Raquel. I think it'll probably be Naomi and Tiffany Stratton.
Okay. I went with Becky and Tiffany because, you know, this is Becky's, I think this is her first Elimination Chamber. I think.
Maybe. I think so.
Yeah, I think they'll have her run the gauntlet there, and she'll have like a little rematch with Tiffany Stratton, who is, yeah. Wow. She's finally on the main roster. That's good to see.
I'm glad. Also, Braun Breaker's finally on the main roster too, which I'm glad that.
That's cool. Yeah, because I didn't get to see enough Tiffany because she was on NXT, but now, yeah, good times. Who was the last to enter the match?
You know what? I think it might actually. You know what? I'm gonna be honest here. I think it's gonna be Becky. I think because. I just think realistically, again, kind of the same logic with Orton. I think Becky they're gonna save till last so that way maybe she doesn't get hurt getting that close to Mania, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe I'm
hey, it's good to overthink things sometimes. I just went Bianca. I don't know. I just tossing out names there. Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense because, you know, that's one of your main events. But, well, not main events. I mean, they're going to put more – they should put more emphasis on Bayley and Io, but, you know, how they haven't been, so – which sucks because she won the Rumble. And there's a lot of wrestlers calling them out for not giving them, you know, a fair shake.
And rightfully so.
I mean, they weren't even on the poster they had released there a couple weeks back. So, I mean, she's getting the shaft. Bayley. That sucks. All right, who gets put through a pod? I say it's Liv, but
Liv is possible because I'm trying to think because I mean, I could use the same logic that maybe Raquel would be the one going through a pod, but I don't think they're going to want to do the same spot twice. So I'm gonna say maybe Bianca goes through a pod.
Maybe.
It's either her or Tiffany Stratton, because really it's just down to Tiffany, Liv, and Bianca that would go through a pod. Because I think it'll probably be Bianca going through a pod. I think that's the only one that I'm really iffy about because that's I don't think they're gonna do two major pod spots in one show. So I'm trying to think real hypothetically if it does happen, I think Bianca would be the one going through a pod Hang on, now I really have to think about this because there's so many ways that they could go about this. No, you know, I think Raquel's gonna go through the pod, but Bianca's gonna do a big thing where she maybe does a spear or does something to put Raquel through a pod. I think. Okay.
Well, that was quick. We just ran down the whole card.
Yeah, because there was really nothing to talk about with this pay-per-view. There's just nothing to it.
I really should have added the questions, but I didn't want to because I sometimes I'm an old man. I sometimes fall asleep during the pay-per-view, But I was originally going to put, will we hear the following statements? Shrimp on a Barbie, Land Down Under, Crocodile Dundee, Mad Max, Furiosa. I was going to like list all them questions for extra points, but yeah, I don't want to have to pay that close attention to the pay-per-view. So
yeah, especially with a pay-per-view like this, there's like really no reason to.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, we're only like half hour in, and we basically just went through like the entire like Elimination Chamber thing, because there's just nothing to talk about with Elimination Chamber. It's just it might be a fun show, but I just don't think there's just going to be anything to it.
Yeah.
So we're 30 minutes in. I don't necessarily want to end it at 30 minutes, because then it's like, oh, well, then why the fuck did you guys do this stream? Why didn't you guys do this? Why didn't you guys do that? I'm trying to see where I'm trying to look at some like what's going on in the news, and apparently on Twitter,
yesterday Ric Flair announced that $7 Productions and The Rock, they're going to make a Ric Flair movie.
Really?
Yeah. And I kind of made a comment on Rick's post. I said Jeremy Allen White, who played Kerry Von Erich in the Iron Claw. I said, what sucks about that is he looks more like Ric Flair than Kerry Von Erich. So he should have played Ric Flair. And there's a guy, Jacob Lofton. He's been in a lot of movies and shows. He's almost a dead ringer for Kerry Von Erich. He should have played Kerry Von Erich in the Iron Claw. So I said, if we could go back in time and switch those actors around, it would be perfect. Because hell, I mean, they could have even got Jeremy Allen White to play Ric Flair in that Iron Claw movie, because the guy they got, boy, he was terrible.
Yeah, that was like one of my major criticisms of the Iron Claw, where the guy they had was literally just so nothing. Like, he was just like, I'm Ric Flair. Woo.
Yeah.
Look at my belt.
I mean, who would you want to play Ric Flair in a Ric Flair movie?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it feels like they went out of their way to get the Ric Flair from Wish. Like, you know, like the memes where it's like, oh, this is discount Ric Flair. It's like, it's like, can we get Ric Flair? It's like, oh, we have Ric Flair at home. Ric Flair at home. The guy from Iron Claw.
But this new movie that The Rock's making, I mean, who would you want to play Ric Flair?
That's difficult, because I feel like because there are some people you could get for him. I feel like I would have to like really see who they cast for him in order for me to be like, oh, that's Ric Flair, because right now you can't, like, it's really difficult with fan casting, like for stuff like this, because there's really no like right answer here. Like, it's
if they do old man Ric Flair, I want Al Pacino to play old man Ric Flair.
Yeah. That might be interesting.
Yeah, especially if he goes into his Scarface yelling routine, where he's like, you know, because that kind of matches up with Ric Flair's persona, like, say hello to my little friends, woo.
I mean, I would be quite curious about, like, if they ever did like a Ric Flair movie, would they have to cover like his TNA run, like just for like a brief portion of the film?
Hey, let's just get Jay Lethal to play him the whole movie.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have the people go, "Oh, well, you know,
it's not woke. It's woke."
Even though he can literally do a fucking amazing Ric Flair impression, but
yeah,
you know, it's just one of those things where like a Ric Flair, because like we've seen so many like Ric Flair biopics too, that it's like, I don't know if like a movie necessarily would be needed.
You get Ryan Gosling after his turn as Ken.
You know what? Ryan Gosling, I think, has. I mean, if he has the blonde hair, he has the look for. He looked visually like he could be Ric Flair. I think you could do something with that. But I feel like you would have to get like multiple actors if you're good. Like, the thing is with Ric Flair too is like, because like Rick is like would be a multi-movie thing because of like how long his career is. Like, unless you're going to do like a 2-3 hour film, I don't know what you could do to really do it justice.
Yeah. I don't know. We're still waiting on the Hulk Hogan move, Chris Hemsworth. So.
Oh, that Hulk Hogan movie is going to be real interesting because, Hulk. Because apparently Hulk Hogan has a lot of stories about what he did, and apparently some of them are a little outrageous to really be true. So
It's got to start. It's got to start off with him picking wrestling over being a member of Metallica.
Jesus, oh my God! Again, how much of that is like I personally don't think any of this is true, but it'd be really hilarious if like they take some what Hogan said and actually put it into the film, just as a way to fuck with people.
I don't know if you ever saw that video they did with Mean Gene singing "Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo," and they got Hogan on the bass guitar. You could tell he was never going to be in Metallica the way he was playing.
No, but it's just really bizarre. Honestly, I actually kind of like the idea of the wrestling biopic, but I feel like you have to do it with the right individual because you can't do it with everybody because, and also there's just certain people that if you do it, it's just in bad taste and it's.
Yeah, and plus, like we saw with Wrestling with My Family or whatever it was, the Page movie, there's, legal hurdles you got to get over because, you can't, even though if some people has left the company or whatever, you can't use their persona or likenesses. Like we saw with AJ Lee, we had Zelina Vega playing AJ Lee and she looked nothing like AJ Lee costume wise or anything. So you got to get over those issues too. So I think it may be something like the casual fans or the audience can get into, but maybe people like us, we're going to be like, hey, that's not right, or that guy doesn't seem like Ric Flair, or he's not doing his promos right. I think for us, we're going to be a little bit more critical about him.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I just hope they don't learn the wrong lesson from like a movie like The Iron Claw, which I really like the movie. I think it was I think for the most part they did it justice. Like, I know they didn't like completely. I know it wasn't 100% accurate, but
no.
I do understand though, because like realistically, it's really dark.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so dark they had to cut out one brother who had who had some similar issues and things happen to him. So this is too dark. We got to cut out a brother.
Yeah, it's just like I mean, yeah, I get like the argument of like, well, it's not completely accurate, but I do understand because it's very difficult to make a movie like The Iron Claw and try to, because it's not a happy story. Like it's a sad, heartbreaking story that it's not a great, like, it's not a I will just say it's not a very fun watch. Like, it's not saying because it's bad, but it's not a fun watch in the sense of like, oh, you're going to expecting a happy, feel good movie. Like, it feels bad.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time before they do a Hart family movie.
Yeah, that one's going to be interesting too if they ever do it.
I think the biggest, what'll stop that is, I mean, probably should. I think Martha Hart will probably stand in the way of that one, which
that's
good for her if she does.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I think that would be a really interesting movie too, is like showing off like the behind the scenes with the Hart family, because I know the mom, I forget, Helen, I think her name, like the mom, like she didn't want them in the wrestling business, and then you have the stuff with Brett, the stuff with Owen, and then you had all this other stuff in the background. It just
the Bulldog stuff is really dark. I don't
Bulldog, Neidhart. I mean, it's and then especially now with the stuff with Vince, I just don't think it would be ideal to do it because it's
somebody will try.
Yeah, somebody will try, but it's one of those things where it just wouldn't be in good taste.
Yeah.
It would be the same thing if they did like a Benoit biopic.
No, they'll never do that. I mean, they'll never do that. No.
I mean, because and I think I read somewhere like I think the reason why it wouldn't work is because like outside of the tragedy, he really wasn't that interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a decent shot for Eddie to get a movie, but
Yeah,
even then, you got to kind of distance yourself from Vicky and the stuff that went down a couple years ago with her and her daughter. So
yeah,
it's all a mess.
it's all massive mess.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I feel like I think you have to do it with certain individuals. Like, don't do it with everybody, but try to do it with if you have to have a good balance. You have to have the ones that are dark and obviously people should be aware of it, but you should also have the ones that are more feel good and actually have a positive ending, I would say.
Or maybe take the route of, the wrestler and then just take, things that happen to some of these guys and just weave that into it like an original story kind of and just make that. But the wrestler covered a lot of stuff too. So I mean, it could just be retread by then.
Yeah. Because, I mean, really, it's but the problems with some of them too is we've seen so many biopics about these things that it's what are they going to show that we have not seen?
Yeah.
That would be more so the question there, but I mean, but yeah, that was pretty much the Elimination Chamber and everything else. I mean, there's really not a lot of wrestling news going on. I would think going into WrestleMania, I think there'd probably be more news and because they're probably not really going to cover really any real news until Mania, unless unless something really really big happens. But even then, it's probably going to be very very rare unless
They got to do something though next month because I mean when is it, April 5th?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a whole month. It's 6 weeks.
So they got to have something, I think.
Yeah. They'll probably have some press conferences or something. I don't know. It's just a long build. It's a long month, so hopefully
unless you're an AEW fan, then it's not as bad because I think there's a pay-per-view next week, I think. But oh wait, no, I think it's either next week or the week after, but it's there's just nothing. Oh, I guess we could cover this. Scott D'Amore got fired from TNA. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I'm not really. I never really watched TNA, but I heard of his name before. So
I kind of find the whole thing with I just find the whole firing really really just. I find it really weird because it's kind of one of those things where everybody liked him, so unless there's something going on backstage, I don't really know why he would have been fired.
Was there a ratings dip or something? I mean they couldn't have been pulling too high ratings. I mean they're on Access.
I mean, there's some conflicting reports because apparently Scott apparently wanted to buy TNA from Anthem for. I think he was gonna buy it from him for $10 million or something. Which we don't really know what's going on other than Scott got fired and the entire TNA roster is pretty upset about it because.
Well, I heard that TNA was kind of shopping for a new network, which was weird because the people that bought them, they bought the Access TV network just to put TNA on. So that I didn't really get what was going on there. So it might have had something to do with Scott trying to buy the company out, but I don't know.
It's just a very, very weird. It's just a very weird situation, and it sucks for everybody involved because you can tell a lot of the talent really likes Scott, and a lot of them that stayed was because of Scott. I think the world champion there, Moose, said himself, like, he really only stayed because, you know, of his loyalty to Scott. And now that he's gone, like, a lot of them are basically just waiting out until their contracts expire, and then they're probably going to go somewhere else, which, I mean, they'll have options at least, but I mean, is this going to kill TNA? Like, I mean, granted, I don't think so, because they've been through debatably worse, because, you know, when Hogan came in and then them getting kicked off Spike and then everything that, like, they've been through worse. I just don't think objectively it probably won't kill them, but it's definitely gonna hurt them short term.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just surprised they've been around this long and they've still been on the air, because I mean, I don't want to talk bad about them, but I mean, you turn it over on their show and it seems like there's only like, I don't know, like 30 people in the audience, because it's super quiet. And, you know, I don't know. It just seems like that they may be on a lifeline there. So, I mean,
maybe.
I don't.
So I mean, I guess we could somewhat talk about the whole Cody, Rock, and Roman Seth stuff, but I mean, again, it's like, what can we really say that we haven't already said already, maybe on like other shows or social media, because it's.
Yeah, and I think that'll probably eat into some of what we have to talk about on the big, you know, WrestleMania show that we'll be doing here coming up.
Yeah.
I like I said, the SmackDown promo Rock did last week, it took all the wind out of the sails for WrestleMania for me, because I was so into the kind of mature reality based thing they were doing at the press conference, and then he just reverts back to Hollywood Rock, and it didn't work for me. I know some fans were hyped for Hollywood Rock. I think he needed to do something new, like we had talked on social media. Like, this was his chance to go back to not necessarily a corporate Rock, but like member of the board Rock, to where he's just serious, and he's not, you know, making fun of the crowd. He's just straight up telling them they suck. You know, that you're going to do what I want to do. I'm head of the board now. I got control, and we're going to do this and do that. And I think they tossed it back to Cody way too soon. They should have just rode the wave like they did with the Yes Movement. They should have right now they should still be pushing to where Cody's getting screwed by the board to where he can't get his match back. And then finally, you know, the middle of March, he does something, or at the Elimination Chamber, he could have got his shot back. You know, I just think they swapped it back way too soon.
Yeah. Like, I think the problem is with the Rock thing first is, like, I agree with you. They should have done like, as much as I liked Hollywood Rock only really worked in 2003 when people were genuinely pissed off at him for leaving and going to Hollywood. Like, the whole situation with Rock is, like, even at the press conference, like, it's not that we want to boo The Rock. It's not that we don't like The Rock. It's just, you're doing this this happened at a bad time. He came in at the wrong time. It was the right place at the wrong time.
Yeah, but even though on our last show I said, like, Cody needs to finish the story at WrestleMania, I kind of, when I saw what they were doing, I was like, you know, this still can work out. You can still have your big match with Rock and Reigns at WrestleMania, and then, you know, just keep on building it up where Cody gets screwed, but make it more clear that he was getting screwed by The Rock, by the board, and just ride it to the fall. Have Reigns surpass Hogan, and then go to MSG for Survivor Series. I don't think they've even announced where Survivor Series is this year yet. Have him win the title, finish his story where the story actually began. People forget that. It actually began decades ago when Dusty was denied the WWF Championship in Madison Square Garden. Do it there. Make it like a big time event. You don't always need to have all the big time moments at WrestleMania. Now, I know Rob and a lot of people, they got their opinions. That's cool. But I'm just thinking, you can do other stuff during the year. You don't have to have everything at WrestleMania.
Sure. And I could see your point, but here's where my biggest problem lies. I think the problem with Roman right now, it's gotten so stale to the point.
Yeah.
It's like the Royal Rumble thing, Shifty, where it's like, it's like you go into a Roman match, what's going to happen. Roman's going to he's going to retain via bloodline interference. We know that Roman is going to I'm not saying that they can't do it. It's just, I think that there's more interesting story to tell with him when he drops the belt.
But here's my problem. They put us through 4 years of bland, predictable programming. It would seem like a waste if they give Cody the belt at WrestleMania, to me at least, because I haven't been a huge fan of this entire run with Roman Reigns, and it's been 4 years. I actually quit watching wrestling for 2 of those years. So, I just think it's all a waste. They should just at least have him pass Hogan. That's what I think. But, I'm the odd man out in that, that decision there. But
no, no, it's fine. I actually kind of like having conversations with you, Shifty, about this. Because...
Well, I mean, it's not just you. I just think the fans in general, they want everything now, and they say that Cody's. Cody, he's been building so long for his story, 2 years. Well, Roman's been building his story for 4 years, and you're not taking that into consideration. So, and plus he's leaving probably after all this is done. So, you should put more emphasis on Roman than Cody. But, oh well, they got to have their guy get over. So I understand it. I understand it.
Well, let me also ask you this, Shifty. Let's say in the hypothetical, they have Survivor Series at the Garden. There's really no guarantee that Roman's going to be there because Roman wasn't even at Survivor Series this past year.
Well, I mean, you would have to have him there because if he passes Hogan, right, you would have to have him. I mean, he would do it anyway. It's just, his story's over. He would pass the torch to Cody in a place that, it matters.
I would say I think Roman's story, ends when he beats Rock and he fully establishes himself as the head of the table. I kind of see the argument of him being the champion is the gimmick, but I think that him and Rock ultimately is the culmination of everything. I think this is where I could see this happening, and maybe this is just fancy booking, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think in my hypothetical scenario, and this is where I think they could go here, I think Cody's going to win the title at Mania, and Rock is going to screw Roman over in a sense of you need to learn your place. You say you're the head of the table, but you're really not the head of the table. I'm the head of the table. And you can go either one or two ways. You can keep the Rock heel and maybe turn Roman back into a face for this, or keep Roman a heel and turn Rock babyface, because really both sides can work here, because I can't see Rock willingly being a heel for a long period of time. I could see Rock maybe turning back to a face, because ultimately I think we're going to get the Roman Rock match next year, because I think I said this before, realistically, I could understand them maybe wanting, if you're going to have Roman break the record, Hogan's record, have Rock come in and let Roman beat him. But that's a match that I think needs more than 2 months of build, because Rock has not been on TV for he hasn't really been this active in a long time.
I don't know, though. You got so many weeks, though. You got 6 weeks now before WrestleMania. They could have built it. They could have built it up.
They could have, but I feel like it's one of those matches like a Cena Rock match where it needed more than, because it would be like in 2011 if they built up Cena Rock and that was a 2-month build.
Did you see the report from Dave Meltzer today or yesterday? I think it was today, where he laid out, according to him, the whole timeline of what went down. Supposedly, if Punk hadn't got hurt, Cody was going to win the Rumble. Cody was, but he was going to get into an injury angle to where he couldn't be at WrestleMania, which makes no sense at all. That's what Dave said, that he was going to be injured, and Punk was going to wrestle Rollins, and then Rock was going to wrestle Reigns, and Cody would just have been on the sidelines injured this year with a fake injury. I just can't.
No,
I can't imagine that being the case when he's on the cover of the damn video game and he's in the commercial and he's like, finish the story and all that shit. I just can't. I can't see that he wouldn't be working an injury angle.
No, and also not to mention that would be a waste of a Rumble win.
Yeah.
Why would you have Cody win and then have him be hurt? That just doesn't make sense.
I still kind of, I don't know. It's the whole thing is screwy, but to explain what happened when Cody gave away his spot, the only thing that I can think that would make sense is if Punk was supposed to win the Rumble, he got injured during the match, and he told the ref, and they had to pivot during the match, and they gave it to Cody before the match ended, and he wasn't supposed to win. And then he got up on the turnbuckle after the match. He was like, Roman Reigns, I challenged you. So, that's the only thing I could think that caused that SmackDown where, he came out and was like, I give my spot to Rock.
I just think this whole situation was.
They need to write a book.
I honestly, I think, I'll give the WWE this because very rarely they do this. But in this situation where it was a clusterfuck, they managed to course correct in the way they could.
Yeah, I still think they could have wrote it out just a little bit longer.
Maybe, but and I do understand what you're saying, Shifty, but I feel
not necessarily until September for the titles change. I mean, for like I said, the yes movement with just do that with Cody to where he's until like mid-March, and then have him get his match at WrestleMania, because it just seems like all the steam is kind of being let out of it so far.
Maybe, but then also if you have Cody beat Roman in September, we don't know how hot Cody's going to be after WrestleMania. That's where ultimately everything, because if Cody doesn't beat Roman at WrestleMania, and you have like a lot of people are no longer going to take him seriously, because a lot of people are going to go, okay, yep, Cody is just another notch in the belt.
I think it's all depending on how well you set up the opposition for him, because I mean, if they had done this correctly, or if they had done this in a way to allow it, they would have had Rock in a persona where he's, like, I'm on the board, I do what I want to do, and just make him the new McMahon without, really, giving vibes of McMahon. You know what I'm saying? Just make him like the corporate evil entity type deal, but they didn't, and I don't know. It's kind of a mess. Everything's a mess. But we'll see if they can pick it up before WrestleMania. Let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
And Cody, they had a promo. I don't know when it was, last week, this week, where Seth told Cody that he would back him up. He would be his shield. Now, do you think that's a seed planting where maybe Seth will, stab Cody in the back and side with Roman somehow, and because they have the shield bonds?
I'm gonna say no here, and I'm gonna try and maybe explain why. Because it wouldn't make a lot of sense for the story for have Seth to turn on Cody, especially after the last few weeks where Roman's like, "Oh, Seth, you're garbage. Like your title's worthless. Like I'm the top guy. You're basically the guy." Like it's basically that Drew McIntyre promo Roman had a couple years back where he's like, you're the guy that they call when I'm not there. Like I can't see Seth willingly, because if Seth sides with Roman, you're just proving him right.
Yeah.
Like.
I saw that. I saw that tossed around on Twitter, and I don't know. I mean, it's good that they kind of do that stuff to make you think this will go this way or that way, but I just don't see that panning out.
No, it just because it wouldn't make any sense. And especially after they built up the whole thing with Seth not liking Roman and Roman being like, you're the secondary champ. I'm the guy. You're not. To have Seth turn on Cody would basically just be saying, yep, I'm not the guy. Roman is. I'm the guy that's like the company man. I'll kiss Roman's ass. Like it just, and it would also make the world title also feel worthless because you're having the world title being the second, like the secondary belt while he's basically kissing Roman's ass.
But they've kind of buried that belt here in the last month.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, I don't know. I just, what is it going to take to put prestige back on it? I mean, do we need to do another, like before Survivor Series, do we need to do another bragging rights type deal to where, the champion versus the champion, not necessarily unifying it, but like bragging rights to who's, the better champion during the summer? Or
So I heard there was apparently a rumor for the tag match where apparently Seth was going to pin Roman during the tag match. So that way Seth gets like the comeuppance on Roman. But I feel like the issue with that too is it feels very, it just feels very like it just takes the wind out of the sails if you do that. Like if you have Roman lose on night 1, he's going to win night 2. Like,
yeah.
I would say ideally, if you're gonna have Cody win at WrestleMania, then you have the heels win on night 1. Roman and Rock can win night 1, and plus, I think the tag match main event kind of works for Rock a little better because I personally can't see Rock being in good ring shape by WrestleMania. Like,
no.
It's just not gonna happen. Like, I think a tag match works for him, so that way he can get the ideal Rock spots. He can do what he has to do, and that way it saves. It just, at least it makes The Rock look better in the long term because he shouldn't, like, realistically, if you're going to have Rock wrestle, like, you got to have him work a few other matches before he faces Roman because that way he can get in decent ring shape and that way he's not getting gassed in, like, the first 5 minutes. So.
But whatever happens after WrestleMania, they've got to build that world title back up.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, whoever wins, Drew, Senior Money in the Bank, whoever walks out, they've got to do some. And I don't know, man. Braun Breaker's on SmackDown.
Yeah, he's on SmackDown.
That's a mistake. I would have put him on Raw. You need. I mean, because I don't know. I don't know who could challenge on Raw right now. That would kind of. I don't know. They need to do a draft or something.
I know that they typically do drafts now, like before Survivor Series, but they really need to start doing drafts after WrestleMania again because I feel like after WrestleMania it's usually like the season finale of like the entire year. Like you have to, like, I would say the first few months are kind of like the off season. So like you should have a draft after WrestleMania and have all I can say is, like, in terms of WrestleMania this coming year, we're gonna see a lot of title changes. I think there's gonna be a lot of changing of the guards a little bit to freshen it up a little bit, and then what they should do is a draft, and then maybe so that way we can kind of get some new faces on each brand. Let there be some continuations of everything. I just feel like that they sometimes with wrestling they overcomplicate it. Like, don't overcomplicate things.
Oh, wait a second. I totally forgot about Gunther. Yeah, there you go. That's who they're going to move to this summer.
Yeah, they're going to have to because, like, ideally, I feel like with Gunther, though, like, if you're going to have Gunther win the world title, I would say just keep the belt on Seth then because we've already seen Drew and Gunther before for the IC title. So unless you're going to run that back, I think Seth would have to be the champion coming out of Mania, which, honestly, I would say just give Drew his moment at WrestleMania. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, it's been like, what, 4 years? I mean, It's like, shit. Just give the guy his moment. Like, I'm not saying he's got to be champion for, like, the entire year, but give him something.
I really like Damian Priest, but just thinking over the landscape, I don't see him winning. I don't.
He can't.
I don't. I think no. This is going to set up the breakup of the Judgment Day probably.
It would have to, because right now they have not pushed Damian Priest in the way that they should have when he was I understand he's Mr. Money in the Bank. He does not need to win all the time because he's already got a guaranteed title shot, which that makes sense, but they've made him look so dumb and they haven't treated him like a threat. And that's the problem. They've treated him like a joke.
But at the same time, I don't know if I wanted to break up because, before they had the Judgment Day, Finn Balor was lost. He was lost in the mix of WWE, and this revitalized him. I don't know if he could, be a presence on the roster if he didn't have the Judgment Day. So that's the problem you have.
I think Finn Balor being one of Triple H's guys, I think it's possible that maybe Finn will do fine without it's one of those things where we won't know until it happens.
Yeah.
I think Damian Priest, in the long term would benefit without the Judgment Day. I think because he's one of those guys the Judgment Day, I think, helped them in the short term because before Judgment Day, like Finn Balor, they didn't know what to do with him.
So instead of breakup, just have Damian Priest leave.
Have him leave and then maybe do a gradual thing where because I think the problems with Judgment Day is they've tried to build them up as the next bloodline type group, but it feels they lose, unlike the Bloodline, they lose all the big matches that maybe they should have won. I get ideally War Games, realistically they shouldn't have won because it wouldn't make sense, but a lot of times you see them in big matches and they lose, and I can't take them seriously. The only one you can really take seriously is Rhea Ripley, because she's the only one that's the only member of the group that really contributes anything.
Dom.
Dom too, but I just think out of the whole group, she's the only one that's really benefited the most.
Yeah. Well, Dom. I think
Dom
her and
too.
Dom. I think those two you got to keep together at least until Buddy, when Buddy comes over. I think he's more likely he'll come back. Him and Aleister Black, because Aleister Black hasn't had a singles match in 2 years. Supposedly,
I find that ridiculous. I'm I almost was really, you have one
and he's only had 6 matches.
Yeah.
They're using him worse than McMahon did, which is crazy. I don't understand it. The dude, when he was in NXT, he seemed like he was going to be the next big thing, but it didn't happen. Hopefully he gets another chance in WWE.
Hopefully, but again, time will only tell.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, we're over the hour, surprisingly, but a lot of that was carried by the conversations we had after the predictions. But
we stretched it out. We stretched it out.
We did. And with that being said, we are going to wrap it up. I think the next stream will probably just be our review of the Elimination Chamber. I don't know if I'm going to do it Saturday or Sunday, but because it's an early morning show on Saturday, I don't know if I'm going to do it in the evening tomorrow.
Yeah,
or
I'd rather not do it on Saturday. Probably Sunday, maybe, or whenever.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how everything goes. But before we wrap up.
But more than likely, everything we said whoever wins what we said today is probably those who's going to win, because it's a really predictable card.
Yeah. But before we wrap up, Shifty, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Twitter, Shiftygism, as Shifty GISM on Twitter or X. I talk about nerdy stuff. I argue with people. Twitter. That's where you can find me.
Very nice, very nice. You can find me here occasionally with my own wrestling show, but I also do another wrestling show with Robert Storms, usually on Fridays. We had to cancel this week due to medical issues, like nothing serious, but just like a cold.
No.
So we have a show on Fridays. You can check me out on Guy Scar's show on Wednesdays. I'm just everywhere. You can check me out. I have everybody's channels like linked in the description. And maybe I will do like a review show tomorrow if like Shadow can do it tomorrow, because that way I can get his thoughts on everything.
Well, just hit me up. I may be there. I may,
Yeah. But yeah, with that being said, though, guys, that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for watching. This is the Osinator signing out.
Later.
Peace.
That's awesome.